So, no, it's been a while. Um, this will actually go up later than I had thought about posting it. It's just the stuff I've seen recently that's happened in this part of the world um, is troubling to say the least. Um, and I, I find it difficult to talk about some of it, just because some of it does get complicated and conflicted and things like that. But then also there's this thing called the Hatch Act, um, where I'm not allowed to say things at certain parts of the day. So I have to keep my opinions to myself a lot of times. Um, and I'm not really sure how that works if I post something. So I have to be vague on some things that I'm saying, I guess, just in case. I know technically I am allowed to have my own opinions. I am allowed to post them. But then if the wrong people find out, I guess then that could be a problem. I don't know. Or the fact that, I apply for jobs and things like that, so it makes things difficult. But as some of you may be aware, I'm not a big fan of how our government is working right now, particularly from the top. I think that that was a bad thing that's happened. It's made our country look bad internally and externally. I think that post is something that should have higher than normal moral values and project a certain level of sophistication, intelligence, and trying to bring people together. And I feel like it's kind of the complete opposite of that. This could go on for a lot longer than I intended, because a lot of the policies are pretty much exactly opposite of what I would have liked to see happen. But anyway, he made a speech the other day about the mass shootings. Something that I actually partially agree with. That whoever his speechwriter wrote for him to say. But he said that mental illness and hatred pulls the trigger, not the gun. I think that's true. The gun didn't actually go out to those areas and kill people. It made it a lot easier, the type of guns that he had, and for the Dayton shooting, the 100-round magazine made a lot easier to kill 9 people and injure, I think it's 20 now. Sorry, I might get the numbers mixed up because I had too many mass shootings. So that brings the questions like, you buy these things legally, and you go through a relatively quick background check. They run your name, and 10 minutes later you can have a firearm. But that just tells me then the background check should be more extensive. I don't see any reason why there wouldn't be a waiting period any longer. I had bought a gun quite a few years ago, and I was expecting the waiting period, and I was kind of freaked out that I walked out of the store with a paper bag with a pistol in it. Great, my battery's flashing. Anyway, so there's that. And then another response to the shooting was another rather disgusting one, in my opinion, from Candace Keller, the representative. I think it's about an hour south of Dayton, where she blamed the breakdown of traditional American family, thank you, transgender homosexual marriage, and drag queen advocates, and goes on fatherless, open borders, school policies, and things like that. I can't even pretend to partially figure out where that's coming from. I don't see any of that. If you check studies, it's predominantly young white male heterosexual people that are doing these shootings, filled with or backed by hatred and whatever else that's being empowered by the leader of our country, in my opinion, anyway. So I don't know. It's okay, I'm at a red light. There's something that I'd really meant to say earlier, but I think I was distracted by my battery flashing. Anyway, the other thing that the United States does in relation to mass shootings, really any terrible thing, is we publish so much information about the person that committed the crime, the act, the whatever you want to call each individual thing. Like New Zealand, the shooting there, which was incredibly rare, apparently, because you don't hear about it. One of the things that they do is they don't post the information about like the perpetrator of these things, so they don't really expect it. The FBI had recently said something about these, like one of the motivating factors is the fame, the notoriety after somebody commits one of these crimes. I mean, they become a household name, basically. Not saying that that's always the case. It's not always a factor, but sometimes it is a factor, and it's just dumb. We don't really need to know. I know some of the things that I've seen, I've done the background kind of research, trying to figure out who the people were and things like that. And I think that partially comes from a job that I had held where that's something that I did. So I kind of relived those days a little bit about just trying to get as much intelligence information about an event that happened. But yeah, anyway, so that's my thought on that. I meant to say that earlier. So that's it. Move back to the other video now. It's not an easy thing to discuss. I mean, I believe that, yeah, you can own a gun. Like I said, I think the background check would be, or should be, more extensive. and I know like that gets into a whole big ball of wax of trying to unravel that. I mean, it goes to the Second Amendment. I started reading a little bit earlier today that there's different versions of it, basically of how it was written, when it's been rewritten. Different words are capitalized, punctuation changes, and it changes the meanings. But when it was written, keep and bear arms. The arms that they're talking about were vastly different than the arms that we have now. To where I think, watching Civil War movies, they say like you can get two, or properly trained soldiers are supposed to be able to get like two well-aimed shots off in like 90 seconds or something like that. This guy in Dayton got within 30 seconds from when he fired his first round until he was killed by police. Was like I said, 9 people dead and I think 18 wounded. So it's not even the same arms. You can't really compare those kinds of arms. So I think it's time for that to be reevaluated. That, and it's talking about regulated militia. So that gets in the whole thing of like maybe groups and training and things like that. Because a lot of people will start to say, like, okay, if there was somebody concealed carry, if they had a gun, I don't buy that one. I just read a story the other day. I mean, it's a little bit different, but still relatively kind of the same kind of thing. I think it was a school teacher or something like that. Her daughter was choking, and she just freaked out, froze, didn't know what to do. Same kind of thing. If you hear gunshots, what are the chances of you being able to recognize that it's a gunshot, being able to draw yours and shoot the right person and stop the threat? Police, military go through tons of training, and they're not perfect by any means either. There's a lot of problems there. I think they need more training, because you're talking about life and death for themselves and the innocent people and criminals and everybody else. I think it's so much more complicated than. And with that, my battery had just died. I'm pretty much done though. So it's just, there's things need to change. I'm watching a lot of the Democratic debates, and just the talk and interviews and things like that. Looking at polls, and any of the candidates right now are polling better than the current president, which I think is fantastic, because I think any of them would make a better president. There's definitely some there that I like better than others. I've been watching one for quite a while, and then I heard of another one that I really liked some of his programs, and so now I'm going back and forth on which one of those I like the best. I think it's the second one that I heard about. They're the only two that really seem to be talking about the future, in my opinion. A lot of the candidates are stuck on a few issues of just universal health care and things like that, which is incredibly important too. But that's kind of all they're talking about. And these other two candidates are addressing it differently, I believe. I think it's because both of them, or neither of them, have been in big politics. One of them not at all, and the other one has been smaller, but equally as important. I know he's got some problems of some of his record doesn't look good. I think that's other problems. It's hard to say. I mean, it's still early. It's I don't know, but anyway. So yeah, I don't really know what to say or do. I know I don't like where we have been heading. If I was braver, I would be able to pick up and leave what I'm doing, I guess, and show my support that way, or lack of support, believing in what I believe in, and I don't know what to say. Anyway, yeah, so thought I'd stop in and say hi and cheer everybody up with this video, my incredibly washed out face. But the family's doing well. The wife is been approved again for the temporary disability. We're still waiting on information about the permanent disability. And we're doing the best we can. It's hard, always hard, but do what we can. Anyway, I think I'm gonna get out of this park and go find something to eat. So, have a good one. Stay safe out there. Whoops, sorry about that.